Hey. Welcome to Tanked Up, the podcast about video games and beer. It's episode 212. I'm Ben, and I'm here with Lucy.
Hello.
Hey.
Hi.
And joining us is Aadil.
Hey.
Hey.
Hi.
How's everyone this week? Good. Aadil, I see some reasonable growth from last week.
Yep, that's a week. Timestamp it.
He looks more human there.
Yeah.
And less like a baby.
It's
freshly
the only,
pushed out baby.
it's the only way people are going to know what week of lockdown and quarantine this is, isn't it? By our beard. So mine charted us through a few weeks. Adil's can chart us through the next few weeks. Lucy, what are you going to do? How are you going to get us through the last few weeks?
I'm sure by 2021 I'll have full-on beards.
Oh God! Don't say 2021.
Hey, you're in your 30s now, mate. You're well on your way.
Beard sprouting.
Right, let's open up some beers. Lucy, you're not drinking this evening after having a lovely few beers in the garden today.
Yes. No, I'm not drinking. Yeah.
What did you have?
I had a beer from Daya. It's called The Sky Keeps Staring at Me.
Okay.
That is an 8% double. It's a Daya. It's
Nice.
good. It tastes
Juice?
real good.
Pure juice?
Pure juice bomb, yeah. And the first beer that I had was Life in the Clouds from Collective Arts.
Oh, nice.
Oh, good old
Which-
right.
Yeah, that's a solid beer. Very good beer.
Mm.
Nice, just like IPA. Standard IPA. Fruity, bitter. Real good. So yeah,
Nice.
now I'm on the jug of water. It makes a reappearance.
Hey.
It's got to come in. It's got to come in every now and again, hasn't it?
Yep.
Maybe that's how we chart lockdown for you. A couple of weeks of beers, then when we know that it's progressed in time because there's some water appearing every now and again. Aadil, you and I are going to be sampling the same beers this evening.
We are.
On all of these weeks where we've done separate orders from the bottle shop, and I've tried a beer and Adil's just got it kind of on the shelf somewhere, and we haven't coordinated. This week we got beers the same day, so we knew what we were getting. I dropped them to Aadil from collecting them from the bottle shop, and we decided to focus on two beers which have been brewed as part of the All Together project.
That's correct.
So there's quite a few out in the wild from UK brewers, maybe 10 or 12 roughly. So it is a kind of like a collaboration where Other Half, who are an American brewer, have shared a recipe for an IPA, and this is everyone's take on that recipe. I think the reason they've done this is to support sort of the hospitality industry. So funds from these all go to sort of more local projects to support people in the hospitality industry. So the two beers that Aadil and I have got are from Pipeline Brewing Company and Mondo.
Correct.
I haven't had a beer from either of these breweries before.
Oh, really?
Actually, I think I might have had a Pipeline in my past.
Yeah.
I think I've had a Mondo at one point.
Seeing them again, another two breweries that I'm seeing a lot of people drinking at the moment. So whether they are kind of on the up, on the rise, they're now delivering nationally. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Could have been around for years. I'll make the mistake I did several weeks ago by saying, oh yeah, Leviathan, they've only been around about 50 minutes, haven't they? I've got one of their beer, I've got one of their beers tonight, it's fine. They've actually been around for years. Aadil, your choice on which you would like to start with.
I think maybe the Pipeline. It is a slight step down in the ABV, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's the weird, interesting. If you do pick up this can, you'll notice something rather interesting, which is that they all sort of share the same front half label.
Yeah.
And it's the worldwide collaboration brewed to support hospitality professionals. Altogether, India Pale Ale. This one says 6% alcohol per volume, and then when you read the fine print, it says 5.
So it does.
Now I will look at this other one, which is
So it does.
6.5%, and it says nothing extra. So let's start with the 5-ish% beer.
Who knows? Who knows? I think a lot of them are around the 6.5%.
I mean, with the same recipe, I suspect.
So,
yeah. Go on.
I was going to say there are some ingredients again on the pipeline one, whereas the Mondo one doesn't list as many ingredients.
Yeah. Also, weirdly, like clearly, they did a different Photoshop with their label maker or whatever, because the pipeline one doesn't have a barcode.
Yes. Yeah.
And the other one does. Weird. Anyway, crack on.
Ooh, I've got him going. Got him poured. That nose hits absolutely as soon as you crack that can. You're just that wafts towards you.
Especially when you pour it by your face to be on camera.
It does list the ingredients as pale malt, oats, carapils, and wheat. The hops are Mosaic, Citra, Simcoe, and Cascade. And this one has got London 3 yeast in it. I don't know in terms of the malt bill whether that comes across between all of the beers. I would imagine the hops probably stay the same, and maybe quantities and things like that. But maybe there's things like yeast that people are kind of changing up in these recipes, and playing with. So it'd be interesting to see kind of how all of these are different. I do have another altogether beer from Dig sat on the shelf because they've done one as well. I know Daya have done one, Track have done one, Left Handed Giant have done one. So there's a few of the bigger names as well that have kind of pushed some of these out. Lucy, have you had any of the altogether beers?
No, this is the first time I'm hearing about it, actually. I'm going to have to maybe track some down. Yeah, I think the only time I've had Mondo was just looking at the histories with collaboration with Weird Beard with a oatmeal stout, called Nothing Else Matters.
Nothing, very good.
Yeah. But
nice.
Yeah, I was just looking at all the beers. There's hundreds that they've done over the years, so yeah, I don't know how they've eluded us this far. So
I guess it's down to distribution, stockists.
True.
I haven't been one to.
They're London-based.
They're Cornwall-based.
Pipeline are Cornwall. Mondo are London.
Mondo, sorry.
I haven't been one to sort of use mail order beer services until recently, until sort of lockdown. It's normally always bottle shop visits, so people have probably been getting them through that way, maybe.
Yeah, probably. Most likely. Yeah.
If you're watching us, or if you're listening to us, tweet us at Tanked Upcast, come into our Twitch channel, let us know if you've had anything from Pipeline or Mondo and what you thought about them. But first, this Pipeline Brewing Company altogether beer, 5 or 6% IPA, one of them. I've poured far too much in this glass.
I was going to say, I'm actually impressed at how you're like claw holding it and not spilling it.
You always, Ben, you always go very close to the line. Yeah?
Fill it up, mate. Get it in there. Did yours
hazy
pour with
as
much?
hell.
Yeah, it is really hazy. Did yours pour with much head at all?
I mean, you saw it on stream. Or on video rather. There was like about an inch during the pour, but it settled like almost immediately.
Yeah. Mine has just disappeared instantly.
Yeah.
But you've got this lovely hazy,
golden honey
looking. Yes. Yeah. Golden honey coloured liquid. It's very, very nice. And that nose is, even though it cracked and came straight from the can, it is quite light. A little bit of sort of tropical fruit on the nose. But in the flavour, kind of dials that down a little bit. And actually it's a bit more not sort of sweet tropical fruit. It's got that slightly stewed nature to it.
I think it's like it's like an overripe mango.
Yeah.
Like it's got that sort of heaviness that comes when the sort of tropical fruit goes, is on its way out. So it's not quite stewed, but it has that like retained, condensed sort of oomph to the taste. And yeah, you're right. Way less than way less sweet that you get on that tropical flavor because of that.
And it's interesting because it flows quite well into the very light bitterness that it has.
So it's got a bit of a pine to it.
Yeah, a little bit, but it's quite light. Actually, it's not a big flavour. It's very subdued. Nice, just overripe mango and tropical fruit notes in the flavour, which flows very well into that very light, piney bitterness on the end.
Yeah.
I think that fruity flavour kicks back in a little bit as well. When the piney bitterness starts to subside a little, that fruit kind of kicks back in. Which is nice to have that as the sort of the lasting flavour.
Yeah, the finish is definitely more sort of slightly fruity beer than lingering bitterness. It's just like I don't like the word spike because it sounds like it's like woof, but it's sort of like just a brief moment of that very almost delicate, slightly piney bitterness, and it's still there now that I haven't had a sip for a while. It sort of, I think what it is it fades to like a lower level, and then the fruitiness can come back, and then when that fades away, you're like, oh, that bitterness was probably still there the whole time. But yeah, I mean, the taste curve is very much like sort of condensed, stewy, tropical fruit, bit of nice, delicate, piney, bitter, sweetness of fruit, lingering, light bitterness. Somewhere in the middle of there, I was getting an aspartame type taste. I think it was right around that sweetness, and I think it's the pine and the sweet interacting in a way that's not my favorite taste, to be honest, but it doesn't last that long, and I think I'll be shocked if it isn't as noticeable, by the time we get halfway through.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely on the initial couple of sips I had, you get that hit at the back of the throat, that slightly acidic sort of feel to it, that kind of almost comes through more in the body than in the flavour, I suppose. When you're sort of supping it back, you get that nice sort of wet liquid that comes back, and then it just kind of hits the back of your throat just a little bit with it. And as you said, it's not the nicest, but it is already subsiding, or at least my palate is getting used to just that additional sort of acidity to it. Definitely versus the beers I had earlier, which were much lighter. I had a couple of pails earlier, so they were very, very light. I mean, this is light in flavour, but it doesn't. The beers earlier didn't quite have that little bit of heft that this has, kind of accompanying everything.
It's
lighter bodied.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. It's also does leave you a bit dry, which is worth noting. So I am noticing I'm not taking huge sips, but I'm taking frequent sips. Just because it's like, need something. Which is not terrible, but it's a thing. I prefer slightly less that, but again, it's really mildly in that zone. And usually you get that with the right type of bitterness. There's only so much you can do to prevent that drying out feel.
Yes. All together now. All together.
Do you imagine that's the song for this?
Yes. That's all I was. That was just playing through my head. I wasn't listening to anything you lot were saying. It was just that song playing on a loop. Someone
doesn't matter what we say now.
No.
Yeah, it doesn't matter what we say for the next 2 hours. That's it. That's all everyone's gonna get. Rather than our normal ramblings. So we'll drink these and move on to our first topic, our first segment for the evening. Lucy, I thought we'd start with you this week, as you're not on the beers.
Yeah. I played a game that I very, 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 very much liked the last week. Well, it only took me a few days because I raced through it, and it's one of the favourite games I've played this year, to be honest. It's called Huntdown. All one word. It's I'd call it like 16-bit pixel art, but it's some of the best pixel art I've ever seen. It's sort of like in between like 16 and 32. It's very detailed. It's more like, ooh, this looks like something you'd see like late Sega, like Mega Drive or Genesis, depending on where you're from. But it's basically a 2D side-scrolling shmup. It's like Contra. It's like Contra and Broforce had a baby, and one glorious baby, just over-the-top action. I think you can play from 3 different characters, so it's not quite got the breadth of different playable characters like in Broforce, but I just played one. I think they're all pretty similar because they start with their own particular weapon, but as you play, you're usually swapping out weapons, and sometimes when you run out of ammo, you default to your default weapon, but most of the time you're picking up, Gatling guns, rocket launchers, katana swords, and everything like that. But
nice.
Played as this woman called Anaconda, because it's one of those games. It's just like everything's stupid, and basically you're just running and gunning, 2D side-scrolling, a little bit of platforming, not much. It's nowhere near as bad as it was in like Contra games or anything like that. So just a little bit of platforming. There are, to complete a level 100%, you have to kill all the enemies. You have to pick up these 3 briefcases, which are like hidden in secret areas, and sometimes being carried by these NPCs that you have to gun down in a certain amount of time before they escape. And you have to, well, you don't have to, but to get 100%, you shouldn't die for the whole level. But that's
right.
A bit tricky. Not something that I'm gonna do. Because it was just like, that sounds frustrating. I'm just gonna, run and gun and die and splatter guys against the wall.
Are there difficulties?
Yes.
Difficulty settings. Okay.
I just played on normal, which is easier than I expected. So if you think like, oh, this is very much an homage to those old, running gunners, which are notoriously hard. It's not that, and I think there's an easy mode and super hard mode or something like that. But the normal mode is, the checkpointing is quite generous, and quite often I think you get like about 3 checkpoints per each level, so you're never starting all the way back at the start, so that's nice. But
sorry, I was just wondering what platform?
I played it on Xbox. I believe it's also on Switch. I imagine it's got to be on PS4 as well, and PC.
The PC release date is the 12th of May, 2021.
Oh, it's got to be on Epic then.
Yeah.
I assume.
Sorry. Yeah. I'm dumb.
Yeah, it's probably on Epic Games then.
Yeah. Cool. Sorry, I just looked it up and I was like, oh, we'll see if what idiots on Steam reviews say, and then it was like, there are no reviews because it's not out.
I bet if you go to like the community hub, if it is an Epic exclusive, I bet you'll just be seeing discussions like, ooh.
Yeah, let's not do that.
Yeah, no.
Standard Steam people on Epic exclusivity.
Like,
they still crashed the servers getting GTA 5.
What, the server's still there? I was managing.
No, they came up that day.
Right. Okay.
Is the shooting on this 360, or does it follow sort of the 8 points of Contra?
I think it was an Xbox One.
Hey.
Funny. No, it's literally just left and right.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's not even up down. So like,
and are you because obviously it's on it's a 2D side scroller. your platforming kind of more on the vertical plane, I would guess.
Yeah.
Then.
Yeah, definitely. And yeah, the like kind of hook to this that makes it a bit different is every level ends with like a boss that you find.
Nice.
It's like a boss rush mode, rather than you do like 3 levels and then you get the big bad boss. It's like, oh no, there's a boss on every single level, and there's different areas, different zones, and once you complete that zone, then you get like a bigger, badder boss. But every other level has a boss, which is cool, and they're all got like their diverse movesets, all got really interesting character designs. It's really varied in that sense, so that's nice. They're not just like, oh, this same enemy every single time. It's like, oh, this person's the leader of this hockey gang, and it's like, oh, they can like sweep you into a net and stuff like that, and then it's just got, they're so over the top and bizarre, and it's just great. It's just one of those fun, just mechanically sound running guns. The shooting and platforming feels really tight. You can like slide into enemies and like kick them.
Nice.
And that, it makes it feel really good, and it's just really good. It's just like I miss these kinds of games. I think after playing like Streets of Rage 4, it's like, I long for the era of just simple mechanics focused games, and it's just like stupid, everything's neon and over the top. Good, and it's like, it's like, I don't know, it's like playing Terminator 2 or Aliens or Predator or something like that. Just running and gunning and shooting dudes, and it feels real good.
Nice.
Yeah.
I would imagine they've had some inspiration from Broforce. You're saying the character's called Anaconda, so it's got a certain level of humour to it. Does it lean into that kind of the entire way through the game?
Not much. You do. I'd say the most it gets is like you hear these quips from your character, and they're like really corny, like 80s B-movie lines or something like that. Yeah, something that you hear in RoboCop, which I watched this last weekend. Still good.
Nice.
Film.
Fucking fantastic film.
Yep.
Getting ready for Mortal Kombat.
Yeah. Even though the pricing's ridiculous on that, I might wait for a sale. But yeah, I was like, I saw RoboCop. I was like, yeah, I miss RoboCop. I need to watch the second one because I'm pretty sure I've seen it, but it would have been decades ago. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't remember the second RoboCop film being one of those that you return to very much. It's not Terminator 2. It's not something that you go, oh, before the days of kind of on demand and streaming and stuff, flicking through channels and go, Terminator 2's on. That's it. I can stop here and just watch this.
Oh yeah, but I mean that's the pinnacle of that series. Well, RoboCop 1.
No, I think the first Terminator's better.
That's right. It's a better sci-fi film, and Terminator 2 is a better action film. They're just two different genres of film.
Yeah.
Like Aliens, yeah. The first one's definitely, I'd say it's like horror.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. Like that sci-horror type.
Yeah, you're right. But yeah, that's Huntdown from Easy Trigger Games. I think they're cool.
So I found a review in the community hub that wasn't. How do I report this to Steam for not being on Steam? And the Chocos Rombati says this game has too many checkpoints. No more dad games, please. Dad games because dad. Because this is seemingly the target group of almost any retro-styled indie games, soft and boring games that are pretty to look at and almost play by themselves. I'm hard off by all these wannabe ultra-hardcore arcade games, and then just giving you infinite lives and checkpoints around every corner, even on hard mode. I still prefer to play old classics on Amiga and Mega Drive. Blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just basically whinging about quality of life. I mean, I actually was wondering if hard mode was fewer checkpoints.
That actually brings me to a good point, because hard mode, it does kind of suck because it's basically you only get like 1 bar of health, and that's it. The enemies don't have better AI or anything like that. It's the same thing. It's just that you're dead if you get hit once, which isn't the way to do a hard mode, in my opinion.
You just need to be more skillful in missing bullets.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah. So yeah, the hard mode sucks, but in terms of, I mean, there are games out there like that, like Blazing Chrome that came out last year. That's got both options of being as easy as you want it. You can have multiple lives and just have to continue from these checkpoints in the stage, or you can just go full on hard mode with like Blazing Chrome, and that was a pixel art 2D shooter which I really enjoyed last year. But as you say, quality of life, some people just don't want to have that hard as hell experience, and he's got those games on the Amiga, so
yeah. I mean, that's the thing. It's like, I have this game, I want this game.
Then go play it. Go play it.
If you've already got those options there and those older games to kind of return to, I can understand that you want something new, a new experience to kind of delve into, new aesthetic, new characters, new bosses and things.
Yeah, I guess it's sort of weird for someone to complain that the genre wasn't quite what they wanted. I get it in a certain sense, but like writing a thanks Cosmic, writing a scathing review because it's like too easy, rather than just saying like this isn't like I guess I hate the tone. I get it's Steam and internet, but it'd be nice if someone just said, hey, if you're looking for something like Contra and that's punishing, this isn't it, but it does all these other things, instead
of being like it's also not hard because I'm a pro gamer,
I'm a pro elite gamer, and I hate people like Ben, you specifically, you are the bane of my existence. You He's dad gamer, you.
Yeah, that was so bizarre. I was like, what does he mean by dad game? Oh, people who have amounts of time and would like to get free games. That's a bad thing. That's a,
yeah, dad and bad are only different from one letter, right?
Yeah, true. Bad. Yeah, I don't get
dad gamers.
Bad dad gamers. I don't mind being called that forever.
Should we stick to me? Because I've got one.
You keep
PSA. Quick PSA. Did either of you play a game called Nog? GNOG?
No, I have it. I didn't start it, but I have it because I.
Who are you, me?
Remember you'd? Yeah, I think it was free on Epic Game Store last year at some point, and I remember I think you'd mentioned it before, Lucy. So I'm like, oh, this is the free game. I'll definitely, and I think it's probably installed on my machine actually.
Check that out. It's really good. It's like a kind of puzzle boxy, like going through. I think they're monster heads, but you're basically. It's got a very tactile feel to it, where you're solving puzzles to basically open up these monster heads, which sounds way more grim than it is because it's very colourful and very toyetic and. But yeah, the developers co-op mode, their not follow up, but their game after that came out on Apple Arcade, so it's a put it in your hat for later PSA for people who don't have Apple Arcade. But it's called Winding Worlds, and it's very similar to Nog in that it's very tactile and you're solving these puzzles on like these little Mario galaxies, like just these little worlds and stuff like that. It's got that same like very soft toyetic look to it, like Nog did. But yeah, it's got a nice little message behind. Like it's got a little bit of a narrative to it, which is nice as well. So.
I know it's like Little Prince meets Adventure Time.
Yeah, you're playing as I can't remember her name. Gosh, what's her name? She looks like a bunny. But yeah.
And you've got a dog companion.
Yeah, but the thing is that you don't take the dog anywhere. You're like stay boy on the phone.
Oh, really?
So don't go into this game thinking you can pet the dog. So.
Why did they do this to us?
Just a pure aesthetic.
Yeah, it's like stay boy, and then he does. So
It's
Yeah,
like
it's a good
most
goal,
of
at
the
least.
shit in Animal Crossing. You can't do anything to it. You just sort of put it in a corner and be like, have a thing.
Like, bye.
Animal
later.
Crossing doesn't have a full sort of Tamagotchi mode to it, where you've got to feed your pet and...
No, that's just Call of Duty, Ben. Did you see that?
No.
They're selling
What?
DLC, and it's basically a Tamagotchi watch. that
What?
you'll- Yeah. But that's Winding Worlds. Quick PSA. Yeah,
Good.
very good.
One for the wish list.
Yes, for sure. It's just on Apple Arcade now. I imagine it's going to come to PC and hopefully Android at some point. So, yeah.
Well, I
maybe
mean, first
instead-
it's got to hit the Epic Game Store for another exclusive.
True. Well, they've done the Nog on there, so yeah, maybe.
I wonder, with Apple Arcade, obviously they have an exclusivity of certain games, and I think we've kind of delved into this a little bit on a previous episode, but they've got that exclusivity on mobile platforms. And I know some Apple Arcade games have come to Steam not that long
Yeah.
after.
Like
Because
A
obviously
Fold Apart was like literally a week apart between releases, like on Apple Arcade, and there's another one called
and
Never
Switch.
Song.
Yeah.
I think A Fold Apart's coming in out. It has. I think it launched on Xbox today. A Fold Apart, but I can't remember. But yeah, it's not. I don't know if there's any kind of exclusivity that would preclude them from launching on another like console or something, and then on our Apple Arcade, or if it has to be Apple Arcade first, even if it's just for a week. I don't know. I don't sign the contracts. But
Yes.
Maybe you should, Lucy.
yeah, I should take all that Apple money.
Get the games for everybody. They take the Apple money and then just give them to everybody anyway.
Yeah, I'll be like, screw your contract, and they'll be like,
We'll
no,
have
that's it.
exclusivity for 1 week. Done. No more of this yearly bullshit.
But it's like, it's nice seeing. I think a game comes out every Friday, a
Nice.
new one, and it's nice just seeing. Oh, I like this developer's previous game. They've just got a new game that I've never even heard of, never seen. Had no press releases about it before, and it's just there, and it's just like, yep, go play it. It's really,
Excellent.
yeah, it is nice.
I did see on Twitter, and I'm kind of searching in my mind for the name of the game, and it will not come to me. But the developer of a game that's going to be coming out soon had tweeted a few, like their initial kind of like trailer, and it's about it's sort of not similar to Florence in its gameplay elements, but in terms of its kind of story, it's kind of about a couple and their life together, how they fall in love, and that sort of thing. But it takes this interesting tone towards the end of the trailer, in that maybe you're able to go back and play things in different ways. So the conversations that you're having with this other woman, who you get into a relationship with, maybe you can approach things kind of in a different way and see kind of how that plays out.
Is it Catherine?
No, it's not.
Is it just the latest episode of Rick and Morty?
Yeah. No, it looks. I'm never going to be able to trawl through Twitter to find this, but it looks beautiful. Like it's a really good looking game, like almost
What kind
sort
of
of
art
watercolor in its sort of art
Is
style.
it called If Found? Because I think a game called that came out today. Give it a quick Google.
Talk amongst yourselves while I have a little.
It found by
If you find if found, then it will be found. And not
No, I think It
lost.
Found looks like it's about.
I don't know.
Mansion.
It looked painterly.
Yeah, but it's about racing and rebuilding, where the only way forward is to destroy what has happened before.
That sounds like what you described.
December 31st, 1993.
Okay.
It's not if found.
Games are derivative and all the same.
Yeah, I mean, all games are garbage and for babies, right? Except
Yeah.
for dad games. No, games are for babies and dads now. We've discovered.
Dad games are the best games, obviously.
So dad games are the new baby games.
Yeah.
No, but dad games are the slower ones, not like Fortnite. The baby games are the Twitch games, yeah. That's
Does that
interesting.
make Call of Duty Warzone a dad
game?
game?
That's a bit.
No, it's a baby game.
That's a baby game. Okay.
Yeah, it's a baby dad
I'm
game.
glad we're getting our
Baby daddy game.
classifications, correct now for years.
We'll put it on every
time.
box for the ESRB.
Yeah.
Baby game, dad game.
Oh, I've made an absolute schoolboy, and I haven't even liked the tweet about the game that I really liked the look of, to be able to return to it and find out what the game was called.
We'll surface it.
We'll find out at some point.
Yeah.
I mean, with the amount that we absolutely love Florence, there's no doubt that it will find its way to us at some point.
Yeah, I mean,
and we will play it.
Twitter analytics, they can hear you right now. They're looking for this game, and they're gonna sell you a plushie for it. So it's coming. Google is just they're just gonna fly up all those ads now.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So that's Winding Worlds. Winding Worlds or Winding Words?
Worlds.
Winding Worlds, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Sphere that you run around on, like Mario and the Little Prince.
Yeah. I think as I wrote it down, my L just became a D.
Hey.
Yeah. There's a game that I will briefly talk about. I haven't finished it. It's called VirtuaVerse. It's a Aadil, I don't think you've probably, as he sips his drink, I don't think you've probably got around to this. The point and click adventure. That's very neon and cyberpunk inspired.
Oh, that one. No, I haven't got around to it.
No, that's fine because I haven't finished it either. But it's.
I will install it though.
Oh, that's a start. I think it's probably less than a gig. I don't know, or 2 gigs or something. I don't know. But yeah, it's a point and click adventure, cyberpunk inspired. Coming to it after Huntdown, I was like, "Oh, this pixel art, it's pretty, which is not as pretty as Huntdown, but it is very good and very evocative of that kind of like cyberpunk style." Which a lot of games have been coming out like recently with that cyberpunk tinge, like Cloudpunk and stuff. But it's your classic point and click adventure game, and in that, the puzzles are really quite obtuse. Like I could get through like the first area pretty okay because my brain is just wired terribly to understand and predict those puzzles. But even then, it was just like, oh, I do this and. It's like, okay, I'm getting closer, but it's just like, it goes at such a snail pace. It's just like, oh, come on, just unlock the new area, just unlock the next puzzle and stuff like this. I've done everything that I can possibly think of. Right. And I've had to look at, like, I don't think there's any guides up as such, but, like, the community hub, which can be useful on Steam, just to look at, like, pointers. It's like, where do I go next? This has become more obtuse than my brain can handle, but I'm gonna keep plugging away at it, see where it goes. I'm not in love with the story. You're basically I'm still just this guy trying to find his girlfriend, and I don't know where she's gone, who he is, what the motivations he has beyond just like finding this stuff, because he's doing some like pretty despicable things just to find her. It's like, why don't you just call her, mate?
Oh no.
Yeah, I don't quite understand the character motivations, but we'll see where it goes. The world hasn't enraptured me. It's very like fill in the blank cyberpunk story, like, oh, the people are synthetics and this dystopian, almost fascist world. Everyone wants to be in their utopian reality wearing goggles, whereas I see the real world and stuff like that. So it seems a bit derivative, but we'll see where it goes.
And now, have you hit the mandatory Keanu/Keanu stand-in cameo?
No, there was a guy for Beard though. So.
Oh, Ben's in the game.
Just a generic beard guy.
Even Ben or Keanu Reeves.
I think very similar. Another dad game.
Super similar, me and Keanu Reeves, obviously.
Yeah.
I could sit here all episode and just go, whoa. To everything everyone says, that would be it.
Do you know Kung Fu?
Whoa. I know
I know
kung
Kung
fu.
Fu.
Excellent.
It does bring up a good sort of question with all of these games that we're kind of seeing released this year and late last year that are of that cyberpunk aesthetic, whether when something like Cyberpunk 2077, massive,
Which I'm sure will be the
massive,
most derivative of all.
but a massive production, big AAA game, how that then affects the market kind of going forward in the indie space, when those kind of developers think, well, actually, we know that our next project can take us 3 years or 2 years to kind of put together. It's going to be such a big game. It's releasing roughly around then. Is that something we can use to our advantage? It's we toyed with kind of cyberpunk ideas. We like the genre. Let's make a cyberpunk game. And I imagine some of these smaller cyberpunk games probably started their development around the same time as Cyberpunk. We had Altered Carbon as a Netflix series, which is from the novel, which came out last year, and I think the second series was this year. So it's definitely kind of come into the zeitgeist a little bit more than as it kind of previously was in novels for since the 80s. Cyberpunk has kind of been in novels and comics, and we've never really jumped into it massively in games. And there have been lots of games which are cyberpunk based. There's been the role-playing game, there's other sort of stuff, but we seem to be at that point now where cyberpunk as an aesthetic, as a narrative, as lots of different things are kind of being explored and used. And I just wonder whether Cyberpunk 2077 has had an influence on the market in that way.
I think it's probably both. Like, I think it's when it made such a splash, then people see that, oh, this is a thing. Especially when you make a smaller game with a shorter timeline, you can kind of jump on that sort of wave. But I think it's also part of the wave. Like, I think we're just hitting, like, in fashion, we're back in the 90s. We're catching up to the Matrix. The Cyberpunk was what William Gibson, Snow Crash, was when he came up with that, and the nascent ideas of things like the Matrix and all that stuff is starting to get sort of rebooted, rejigged. We also have things like transhumanism being more possible, people getting implants and stuff, and I think it's just the time where people are starting to really think about these things. AI, pre-COVID.
Pre-COVID.
Yeah. In the before times.
Yes. I think time should start at 0 now.
Yeah.
PC 1.
Yeah. Oh God. In the before times, people AI was in the news on almost the daily at some point.
Yeah.
And I think it's I think it's just sort of we're with Facebook algorithms and fake news and shit all getting us back to thinking about what this weird sphere of the world is that's so impactful, that with that coupled with this wave of sort of nostalgia with you dad gamers and 90s fashion and all these things, we're sort of in the middle of that cycle, that it sort of just makes sense that this is hitting the forefront. And then again, like you said, when The Witcher 3 became this huge thing, and the next thing they wanted to do was jump on that sort of wave, in gaming, that made that wave really big.
Yeah.
And instead of 2 or 3 indie games that occasionally come out that are sort of cyberpunk-esque, you're getting a lot more, and you're getting sort of medium-sized games sort of jumping on that aesthetic because of all these influences.
Yeah, and I suppose there's a lot of medium-sized games as well that would again have been started around the same time as, maybe not the same time as Cyberpunk, but at least the same time that everyone was made aware that Cyberpunk 2077 was being made. Stuff like Observer, which came out a couple of years ago, kind of lives within that space, and is getting a like an up-resed Redux version for the next generation consoles. So if it's a game that everyone missed, you can then go and return to or go play it. And I think they're looking at it's a lot of sort of visual fidelity kind of things that they're looking at upgrading with that. But whether they decided that studio's gone, we made this game, it was reasonably successful, maybe we need to port it to next generation consoles again to take advantage of that wave, to stay on this. And we know that people are going to be in the mood for this, but after something like Cyberpunk 2077, which is going to be, from all accounts, a ginormous game, does it then not dilute the market?
I think it might actually stifle it.
Does it stifle it once it's released?
Yeah, I think. I mean, with the small indie games, with like totally different, like especially like these visual novel-y sort of point and click ones, I think no one's gonna, even if someone says, "Oh, you're just copying Cyberpunk 2077," I think that's fine, because I mean those people are never gonna buy it anyway. But I think it's sort of when a AAA studio sort of it puts their flag on a specific sort of era or genre type setting, it's harder for similar style games and similar sized games to do the same. I mean, there's a reason why you don't really get a lot of historical third person action-y games, because Assassin's Creed's been bouncing around the timeline for ages, right? Like literal and figurative ages. So it's just like, what are you going to do? Oh yeah, I wanted to do a sort of pseudo stealthy, like, can you imagine if the Thief reboot, even when it happened, which was what, God, I don't even remember, 2014? If they made it third,
maybe 2015?
It might have been 15. If they made that third person though, like, people would have been like, you're just fucking copying Assassin's Creed, even if what they were trying to do is just innovate their own franchise. Like, you can't, which sucks, but also I think it'll be fine. Like, I think we'll get more. I think we'll get some sort of tag-ons and tag-alongs and some like boring sort of cash cow games in Cyberpunk, and then unless they make Cyberpunk 2078, I think there'll be space. But it'll be, I mean, these things are on a lag time anyway, but it'll probably be, like 5 years at least before someone does a big-ish game in the similar vein.
Yeah, and hopefully it kind of reinvigorates some of those other games, stuff like Deus Ex, which I know didn't sell very well and didn't sell well enough for Squeenix to make the third game. Basically,
I basically said Adam Jensen's dead.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
They were like, Lara's dead, Jensen's dead, Hitman, Agent 47.
They're all dead.
Yeah, you're really dead. But yeah, I don't know, like, because a lot of the times when I play a game, I like it, I very much like sometimes stay in that mood, and it's like I want something similar in a similar setting, or like I see RoboCop or Predator in games, and it's like I want to watch those films. Or sometimes it's like a lot of the times just seek out similar media, whether that that's cross media, films, TV, other games. So it's like, yeah, I'm in the mood to play, I don't know, this kind of game or in this setting and stuff like that. So yeah, I
absolutely
think it can really help those smaller games. Maybe.
Yeah. And I think in a similar sort of vein as we've sort of Aadil, you and I talked about Assassin's Creed Valhalla over the trailer a couple of weeks ago when that released. I've been watching The Last Kingdom, which is all about the Danes' invasion and how Wessex sort of stayed almost free of invasion, and how Alfred the Great tried to create an England out of all of these sort of unified smaller kingdoms that there were, and beat back sort of the Danes. Kim and I were watching that a couple of weeks before the Assassin's Creed Valhalla kind of reveal, and as soon as that released, I'm like, oh, I'm absolutely in the mood for this game. Yeah, you know, I like Assassin's Creed games, they're fun, but the Viking settings, yes, we don't have many of those at the moment. I would absolutely love to jump into that setting, and part of that is because I've been watching this show, which is a very passive form of entertainment, and I've been enjoying it, and it's been kind of good enough for us to keep going with it. But suddenly, when someone goes,
"You can be that guy,"
do you want some kind of active entertainment? Yeah, you can be Sigurd or
well, you can be
whatever you want.
Yeah, Desmond's family.
Desmondson.
Yeah. Desmondson.
Right, should we open another beer?
Yeah, go on.
So, if you've been with us from the start, you will know that we are going to be drinking another all-together beer. This is from Mondo. Are they just called Mondo? Mondo Brewing, who are in London. They don't put a huge amount of information on there. They don't put any of the ingredients apart from water, barley, hops, yeast. They do have a best before date, which is October of this year. I think the last one didn't have a best before date. So, again, interesting that they've all taken a slightly different tone with their side sort of text. It's all a little bit kind of
I suspect that they basically got up until here in their Photoshop file, and then they just do their standard thing for the last
probably
2 inches or whatever. This one claims it's 6.5%, and changing from the other one doesn't claim it's another percent somewhere else on the can.
There are not 2 percentages listed
but
anywhere.
What if they were? What if it could be like, clicky cigarette, but it's like, clicky beer. I want 4% now.
Yeah, but like, who would click the fucking percent button?
I don't know. Dads.
Hey.
Oh. Babies.
Baby dad.
Yeah. Just blame us for everything. It's fine. I mean, you know, we are the patriarchy, aren't we? So,
literally and figuratively,
might as well. It is all our fault, to be fair.
Yeah. So it pours very similar to the other one.
It does. The nose is nowhere near as big when you crack the can.
No, it doesn't just
waft.
It looks hazier to me.
It's definitely more carbonated. Like you can see the bubbles clinging to the glass, while on the other one it just didn't. I think it's definitely hazier. It's also I can't tell because if it's a haziness, but I want to say it's probably just hazier but the same color tone. I was going to say it might be slightly more orange, but I think that's just the fact that less light's going through it. I think it's just darker because of it.
Yeah.
So I fixed my inappropriate comment. That's right. When we make an inappropriate comment, it's about haziness.
Good.
Yes. We don't have heated Gaber moments over here.
No, definitely not. Fuck that.
It's a lovely design on the art for the can. Very, very nice. Almost sort of stained glass window.
I was just saying, it's like the Mondo mosaic, right?
Mm.
But yeah, it's a little more stained glass than just generic mosaic.
Mm-hmm.
This nose really is light. I'm not getting much from it at all. Maybe a little bit of tropical fruit, but that's kind of it, really. Yeah. And it's very, very subdued. Really light.
Give me a sec. I mean, the head did die down very similar to the other one, and also all the clinging bubbles sort of just, most of them disappeared. So I think it probably a little more carbonated, but not by a long shot. Yeah, I hear what you're saying. Similar notes, like you still, so like I'm getting that tropical fruit, that mango. It does sort of have that slightly overripe, slightly stewed tinge, but it's really hard to tell because it's so much lighter on the nose.
Yeah.
Here's the problem with drinking 2 beers of the same recipe. I feel like I need to swish awkwardly, make out all the people listening be like, "What? What are those spit noises?" But yeah, it's just light.
So what's the main differences then?
I mean, I haven't even tasted the thing, so
you
had swag.
Okay.
Go for it.
So, I have had a swig, and kind of my initial thought is it's more subdued in the nose, and it's more subdued in the flavour as well.
Okay. Gun to your head, if you didn't know they were done by different brewers, would you be able to tell?
They're different beers.
They are different beers, yeah.
They're clearly different beers. I actually think the shift here, not only is it sort of like, well, if the taste is sort of here on the first one, then the second one's kind of here. It's also where that shift is. It's kind of sorry, podcast. Now that I'm staring at the camera, I just forget. Yes, obviously I lowered my hand. Okay, I think it's also the sweetness has gone down.
Yeah.
And the bitterness has mildly gone up, or it might just be it's just less sweet. Which, given that it's a higher alcohol, like I'm mildly surprised. I mean, if the previous one was 6% and this is 6.5%, I'm not surprised. If that one was 5, like half the can decided to tell us, and this is 6.5, I'm actually surprised that there isn't that much shift. But I would say like you're getting the same sort of tropical notes, but they're all subdued.
Yeah.
It's also, I mean, I might have to have another couple sips, but like it's that bitterness is there and it's a bit stronger, but it's not as distinctly piney either.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what I was going to say. It's almost a little flatter in its sort of flow. So the pipeline had these those tropical fruits, and it flowed quite well into that piney bitterness. This kind of has those tropical fruits, and then just has this bitterness
lingering.
Yeah, that kind of is just there. It doesn't move into it. It is just around, and I think that piney note in the pipeline brew is the thing that kind of connected the two. That it flowed into that piney. You realise that it's got that piney note. It's a little bit kind of herbal, very slightly. That allows that to easily get into that bitterness. Whereas this is kind of it's fruits. Oh, there's a bit of bitterness.
Yeah, okay. So I think the right way to metaphorically describe the difference in bitterness is the pipeline is like when you realize that your long-term relationship or marriage is just not what you wanted it to be, and you're like, fuck, I'm bitter. And then you're like, well, okay. Like, I've been with this a while, I had this realization. And then this one's like, oh, I've been resigned to that for years, and I just stayed with it. Like...
Oh, yes.
Yes, you're absolutely right. Free therapy session.
Yeah. Well,
would you like to lie down?
Me projecting all kinds of things onto beer.
Would you like to lie down, sir?
I really enjoyed both of you. Like, where the fuck is he going with this?
I like doing it.
Oh no! I mean, the analogy works. I completely understand.
Yes, so now I know exactly what these two beers taste like.
Hey, if the analogy works, it's done its job.
Yeah.
I think I would have guessed that the percentages would have been sort of switched. That this would have been the lighter beer. And I think that's just because it's just not as big. It doesn't have as much of a big flavour. However, we are maybe a little bit swayed by the previous beer. You know, it does have very similar notes to it, so we're already accustomed to it. It would be interesting, and I don't know how we would do some kind of taste testing to say, right, here's what Pipeline Can 1 tastes like.
Yeah.
Here's what Pipeline Can 2 tastes like. Is that then similar to what we're experiencing with the Mondo. You know, we're already one can in of this specific kind of recipe.
We could have done the proper thing. And that's why we haven't hit the big leagues on the beer podcast, because we just don't have like the coffee or the something stabilizing. But
just a quick glass of red wine in between, just to cleanse the palate.
I was just gonna mix myself a stirred martini, because I have gin and vermouth calmly lit up beside me right now, and empty bottle of scotch, because that's how my night went last night.
Nice.
But no, I think we'll get a better sense for that comparison by the end of this one, when we're sort of fully in this park. So I think by the time we hit the end of the episode and talk about beer, the comparison more, I think I think it'd be worth us sort of tabling back and be like, okay, last few sips of this one, what are we thinking? Because you're right, like, it's hard when they have very similar notes. And we did have that initial sort of push-pull on the pipeline, right? There was that, like, I had that aspartame taste, but by the end of it, like, by a few, like, probably 5 sips in, that disappeared. And then it was like, well, that was, like, the thing I was worried about. But obviously all of that stuff, because our palate is full with this type of beer, given that it's the same recipe, you're just never going to have that journey. So I think it really has to be sort of end of 10 versus end of 10.
Yeah,
to be fair.
Absolutely. So we will return to discussing the Mondo Brewing Altogether beer later, at the end of the episode, and we'll get back into some games. Aadil, what do you want to talk about this week? I'm happy to jump in.
Well, I mean, I just wanted to talk about... Well, mine was a bit inflammatory. I was going to talk about the Epic Games Store outage, and it being linked to GTA 5, a game that, how do you not own it? Like, everyone and their dog owns it. It's been the top of the charts for a million years, but you get it for free on a new platform, and you crash the site that you guaranteed whinged about it on the internet. You know... And but it did get me thinking,
because it was there. It's always going to be there for a week. They can generate as many codes as they want for that game.
Yeah.
Did you know that even though digital media is like owning a product, it's not like making a product in the same way once it's done?
Yeah.
Those perfect zeros and ones. If only pottery could be the same. I mean, I guess I just wanted to open up for kind of like we sort of every so once in a while jump in and out of the like digital library, what do you own, what do you not own thing. I thought it'd be kind of a nice reason to just noticed the mouse, a good reason to just sort of touch base on that again. You know, like what, like I do the same thing. So Lucy, actually, your Wibbly Wobbly Worlds game progenitor.
Winding Worlds, yeah.
Yeah, Nog.
Oh, Nog, yeah.
Yeah, the Knob game. I also own it because it clearly was given away on Epic Games, right? But I've never played it. And in fact, I don't open Epic Games. I almost opened it earlier this week because I purchased John Wick Hex months ago and forgot all about it. And after Ben talking about it, I was like, oh, fuck, I really wanted to play that game. I think this PC can handle it now that I have a working PC. I should do that. But I kind of only ever I don't even open the Epic Games Store app. I just go on the website and click get free game. And then
you can do that.
I didn't know you
I'm going to start doing that.
Yeah, why would you?
I'm going to uninstall that launcher.
But like,
I had no idea.
Thing, right? Like, how much of this is collector's instinct?
That's what it is, because I own all these games already.
Oh, I stopped getting the same game twice.
Right.
But also, maybe that's not a terrible idea. This was the vibe I was going for, which is like, I haven't read the terms of service on Steam or whatever, but like if things went sour between me and Steam, some of these games I would still own because of because of my product license registration with Epic. That's actually not a terrible idea because these like ecosystems get weird over time. So yeah, I just thought it would be interesting to talk about that. I was curious what your thoughts were on sort of like Yeah, not
ownership
owning
and
cloud games, but on different platforms, etc.
I have a very short take on this, is because personally, I understand the worry about it, and I think like conservation is very important for the games industry. But personally, I don't care if I don't own anything. You know, it's like Ori and the Blind Forest. No, Ori and the Will of the Wisps is my favorite game this year. I don't own that. It's on Game Pass.
Yeah.
So it's like in 20 years when I want to, I'll be like, oh yeah, remember Ori. If I can't play it, it's just like, okay, that'll live long into my memory, and when my memory's gone, that'll be the least of my worries which games I played. So I've got my spreadsheet anyway. It's just like, you know, and games are a thing that are like, it's not like, oh, I want to watch the Godfather. I've watched the Godfather trilogy this weekend, but anyway, it's like, oh, I can go watch that. Very good. It's like, oh, I want to watch that, and it's still the same experience.
Sure.
Maybe with different context through older lenses, or if I become a Don, I may watch it with different, perspective.
You mean you haven't?
I think when she inevitably becomes
when I inevitably become one, it's gonna happen. But with games, it's like, as you say, with like quality of life upgrades and stuff like that, games just don't always hold up as well as they do in your memory. I mean, I'm sure we'll get to a point where games won't change much from the user interface or like control wise, and they'll still feel good, more so than games in like the 8-bit era or 16-bit era, or like in VR. Like those games will look and feel terrible in 5 years. So, but traditional games, maybe they'll still feel good in 20 years. But I don't really replay games. It's like, well, I want to go back. Maybe if I can't, I'm not going to cry about it.
Right.
So that's my hot take.
And I think to sort of add to that, I'm not one to go back and play games that I have previously played. Okay, and I'll preface this by saying I am one to click on Epic Games and make sure that the free games are in my library, or go on PS Plus and make sure that the free games are part of my library.
I love free stuff. Outside of video games, I will hoard all of that stuff.
Yeah.
And occasionally, I started Mutazone, which Lucy, you talked about before. Got that through Epic Games. It's one of the free games. Brilliant. I absolutely will finish that and play it through when I wouldn't have played that previously. But I'm not going back to GTA 5 to play through the main campaign. I did that on the PlayStation 3. I'm not going back. I'm not even going to go back and do it on the PS4.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I think I've only ever got to like 3 heists into that game, and then lost the save file. Started an Xbox One. Then by the time I realized that I wanted to play it again, not only did my PC blow up, but also my Xbox One I sold. I'm never finishing that game.
And to be honest,
I don't want to do that first fucking mission where you steal a car outside of what's his name's office. What's his other name? Who the fuck cares?
Yeah.
I don't want to fucking have to play 10 hours to just get the other fucking guy. Like,
to be honest, that campaign is, for me, really forgettable, and it's the worst GTA campaign.
Yep.
I think everything about that world is tremendous, and it is just a feat of technology and design and art and everything like that, but the campaign's not great.
So, I mean, my problem with GTA games, to tangent on the tangent, is that, like, I did even less with GTA 4. Like,
I love GTA 4. I think that's
I did not finish the campaign. I loved the game, but I loved the world and fucked around in the world, and then because I owned it on PC, just unlocked shit. Like, it was just like, no, I'm not playing this crappy campaign with this kind of shitty driving mechanic with really precision controls needed for a couple early missions. And also, like, going bowling or whatever. It's just like, no, this isn't the game we want.
Nico!
Oh my God.
Fuck off, Roman. Fuck
Yeah.
off.
Exactly.
Stop calling me.
It was just like, no,
Yeah.
fuck this. I will just...
I think I love that game. I really love that game. I think the story is probably the best Rockstar has told, other than like Red Dead and Red Dead 2.
Really? Better than San Andreas? And
San
Vice
Andreas
City?
is my favorite game, but San Andreas is basically Boys in the Hood.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's true, yes.
But like,
Yeah.
they copied a very good plot.
Oh yeah, I love the story in San Andreas. I just think the writing is probably stronger in GTA 4. San Andreas will always be my favorite.
So
but-
I would agree. I would
So-
agree, actually. I think the writing is better in GTA 4
Yeah.
because they've had, that much extra time to hone their skill. They tried to...
And what happened with GTA 5?
they tried to kind of... with San Andreas, they stepped out of their comfort zone a little bit, None of I can't imagine they brought in many experts on actually being a gangbanger to come in and help write stuff.
Yeah, and that was like very much set in like the 1992 riots, and Scarface was GTA Vice City, and GTA 3 was very good story. It had all kinds of stuff in it, like.
And was their first foray into really trying to tell a story,
I think it's
wasn't
a good story. Yeah,
I liked
GTA 3 is a really
I've
good story.
replayed GTA 3 I've played through like the first couple of chunks, like the first two
on the
acts
bridge,
of GTA 3 in
I
the
love
past
that
like
game.
5 years. Like that game a lot.
I
Third
finished
Island was
them.
rubbish, though.
I don't remember.
Yeah, you don't really spend much time. I just remember having to maybe fly a dodo there and
Yeah, it was the posh
drive.
bit with the
Yeah.
big
Yeah, it's
tunnel.
the posh bit. And I finished GTA 3, and that the last part of that game it's bad and it's hard. But yeah, I think GTA 4 is their best, right? Anyway, don't bother.
So what I'm hearing is I
should.
should give GTA 4 another chance if I have an opening in my schedule.
You don't, but you should. Yes.
I mean, I have all kinds of openings.
I would go back to that one. If I was to go back to any of them, it'd probably be that one.
Not GTA 1969 London, the weird pseudo DLC before DLC was a DLC, so they sold it as a standalone game. That one?
Speaking of DLC, the GTA 4 DLC is really good. The Lost and Damned and Ballad of Gay Tony.
Yes,
Those are really good. Yeah.
Well,
They are very good. Yeah. For the longest time, I bought both of them as a bundle, but just for some reason couldn't play them. They just would not launch. PlayStation had a massive issue with whatever my purchase was.
Did you buy it digitally? Or
Yes.
disc?
Yeah.
Oh,
No,
that's
digitally. GTA
weird.
4 was on a disc, and I bought them digitally, and I could just never launch them. They just would never work. And then suddenly, maybe a year or 18 months after I'd actually bought them, they worked, and I could play them.
They patched them.
Massive patch, obviously, yeah. But going back to kind of the topic, yes, I will go and pick those free games up. I'm not going to go back to many games that I've already played, but I will play the free games that I pick up that I haven't experienced yet. But on Lucy's point of just having access to these old games and services kind of running out of steam and, pun mildly intended, GOG is doing a kind of a little bit towards, and GOG has always been a service which has lived in that realm of preserving older games and allowing you to play them DRM free as well. You know, if you buy a game on GOG, you don't need to use the launcher. You can install it directly onto your machine without having to go through the launcher. But
I was about to say, isn't the whole history of that, like GOG and that company, like, in Eastern Europe we couldn't play like these, LucasArts games, and it's like, instead of people pirating them, here's a way to actually purchase them.
CD Projekt started up exactly like that.
Yeah.
They were
Literally what's
writing.
called CD Projekt.
Yeah, they were writing the games that weren't available over there for release in Poland, basically.
Yeah.
Because they couldn't get the games on a wider release, so they'd get one imported over, and they would redo everything and put language options in there and stuff, and then release it, and that's how they made their first bit of money, basically. But they are doing a thing where through their client, through God Galaxy, and I can't remember exactly what the service is called, but every now and again they will pop up and say, you own this, we've got 15 games right now, if you own them in Steam, you now own them on this platform, here it is for free.
Ooh.
So you can then get a DRM free version of that game, you can install it on your PC, and you never need to have any kind of check against that. That will forever live on your machine.
Yeah.
So long as you
Well,
and
so
the
long
key
as
is
so long as GOG exists and you don't upgrade your machine and wipe your hard drive to need to gain access to the install files again. But you could download the install files and put them on a USB stick and have them on a big shelf of portable hard drives or USB sticks forever.
God could collapse and those install files would still work is the key, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
That's not the same as if Valve imploded.
Yes, absolutely. And it's fine having, the same game on PlayStation, on Epic, and on Steam. But I think GOG is kind of key in this, at least in terms of preservation.
Yeah,
and actually having a workable library in 10 years' time. And being able to play any of the games that you have now in 10 years' time.
Yeah.
Rather than, Epic going, well, yeah, we did give that to you for free, but we've lost the rights to it. Or, as with other games, as with previous Grand Theft Auto games, we don't have the music licenses for them anymore, so you can't play the game at all. It's gone until we figure that shit out.
I mean, this is my least favorite part about owning digital games, that music is a big part of it. It's just like, well, our contract expired, so even though you bought that game, hopefully you kept it installed and didn't change your computer because fuck you.
Yeah.
It's like, well, isn't that kind of the game I bought? The first time I hit that was I think it no longer will happen in this way, but in the PS3 era, the Marvel Ultimate Alliance games had DLC that then they lost the license for. But I think I might be incorrect. I believe I purchased it and then years later tried to reinstall it and couldn't get the DLC content even though I had bought it. But it might have been I wanted to have bought it and then couldn't anymore. So I might be wrong, but I just remember there was a weird kerfuffle that was different. There was something skewy about it, but it might have just honestly, it might have just been the fact that we had never really hit that on a mainstream-ish game that remember when you had access to buy this thing and then tomorrow you didn't get to buy it as DLC?
Yeah. I do want to mention Xbox back compat.
Yeah.
Because that's great. In terms of if you own this disc, you can just put it in and then.
I mean, this is why back compat is really important, right?
And Microsoft have said that we're looking to do this for the foreseeable future. So if it's we have Halo, 50 on our cloud service in 600 years or whatever, you can go back and play.
As if the world's going to last that long. Come on.
Never. But, in theory, what they're saying is look, if you owned it back then, you can play it many, many years from now and it'll just be in some random server or something like that. And yeah, it's I go back to all those back compat games, probably more than the average user. But it's Mafia 2 is definitive edition. It's out today or whatever, something like that. It's if I want to go back and play Mafia 2, I could just put in a disc, or I can if it's on my library, it's just there. So
I think there's another step to that, in that I can understand why when I buy the disc of Final Fantasy VII, I don't just then own it as a digital version of that, because I could then just go and resell the disc and I own it in a digital version. But with games that are X number of years old, that actually no new copies are being pressed anymore, you can only buy it as a second-hand product. And these manufacturers and game companies, aren't part of that second-hand game economy. That actually, after it gets pressed, if you put your disc in for Black Ops, which you cannot buy new anymore, the Xbox pops up and says, hey, we have all of the digital files for this game, it's on backwards compatibility, you now just own this game.
That would be nice.
We have it as a digital version for you, get rid of your disc, you'll get £1 for it down at the fucking indoor market, which everyone used to skate at years ago. But you can go and sell these 20 discs you have from your Xbox 360 for 50p each, because we will give you the digital license to be able to kind of play that.
But
I
they
think
would
that is
stop
the
being
next
50p, because then you could get a digital copy of that game, so the value of all these discs would go up, because you would just bounce them around everyone.
But they might the value of their discs might go up, but they're not part of that economy.
Yeah, but that's sadly that's not how people protect their intellectual property, right?
Sure.
Like,
yeah,
I agree. It
would be nice, yeah.
It would be nice, and it's a super consumer friendly thing, and there'd be so much goodwill. Again, as you pointed out, Ben, on a market that they will never penetrate. But
because it's like I had a mini heart attack when I thought I lost a disc for Black Ops, and it's like, well, I have nothing else to play.
it was just still in the console, wasn't it?
That's its home in the console until Warzone came over, which will be booted out soon enough, because I'd rather just play Black Ops now and then at this point. What's the name of that game? The Call of Duty Modern Warfare remaster?
I think it's Modern Infinite World War 7.
Probably the one that came out last year.
I think the base game is Call of Duty Modern Warfare, but because this is its own free install that you don't actually need Modern Warfare, it is just Call of Duty Warzone.
Yeah. Modern Warfare.
Call of Duty Warzone.
But,
Zone with your friends in a war.
That sounds like taking too many mushrooms.
There's so many stupid naming.
Now I want to play it. I mean,
Modern Warfare 2 Remastered came out recently, didn't it?
Yes.
When you say recently,
last month.
Was that
2 months ago if you're on PlayStation or something?
Man, I have lost track of all of them.
Yeah, I think it came
just
to
appeared.
PC and Xbox. Yeah, it was like
everyone was like, "Oh my god, someone's found some files for Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 Remastered." And then the next day it's like, "Yeah, here it is on the store. Buy it if you want." Sure.
I don't even think I saw a review for it. I don't think anyone played it, apart from the billions who are probably playing it.
It'll be free on PlayStation Plus in like 2 months' time. It's fine.
It's alright. But speaking to that, PlayStation Plus, like going back to on topic, like I let that lapse a couple of years ago, and it's like when I think, oh, I never got around to that game on Vita, I'm just like, oh, well, I don't own it.
Yeah.
And then I think I'll pay triple the price for it on Switch one day if I'm really compelled to play it.
Yeah.
You could find a month's pass for like £2 somewhere.
Yeah, probably.
True, but I don't actually want to play on my Vita or my PlayStation 4, so that's the reason why.
I should sell my Vita.
No.
Well, I don't know what to do with it. I just don't touch it.
Mount it. It's a very special console.
I
had it payday.
Yeah.
I really like the Vita.
To be honest, actually, I mean, I think basically if I didn't have Animal Crossing, I've now gotten into... I don't two things. One is now I rarely dock my Switch. It's now a sort of bed-based interactive entertainment. Ooh, that's a weird turn of phrase that I didn't mean.
What are you doing with your Switch?
Those islanders are very attractive. Don't king shame me. No. But if I didn't have that, I think I would pick up the Vita, because I think I have like the first 10 Final Fantasies on the Vita and a bunch of other random RPGs, and be like, oh, it's perfect for that, right? It's just like go to bed, play an RPG, wake up, play an RPG. Like you don't need like, oh, that's great. That's why I had the Vita. I just stopped playing sort of handheld for a while.
Yeah, because I was thinking of that one GTA that came to
Liberty City Stories.
Yeah, and that's on Vita, and it's like I never finished that.
There was Vice City Stories as well.
Yeah.
Yes, there was.
And I'd have to buy them. Is the store even still up for Vita?
Do UMDs still exist?
UMDs is PSP.
What did Vita have?
They had their own cards.
Oh, they were cartridges.
And their own proprietary memory.
How do they taste?
I don't know.
They taste like a knockoff Switch card. There was a second thing. It doesn't matter. I can't remember it. It's fine. It's fine.
Okay. Let's move on to our final topic. I'm not going to talk much this week. I'm only going to touch a little bit on Disco Elysium, which I'll probably talk about next week when I put some more time into it.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm super early in that game still.
The game's like
how much time have you put into it so far?
I don't know. It says 7 hours. It says 7 hours, but I don't think I put that much in, because I played it a little bit. I've paused it. I've done some work for an hour. I've then maybe played a little bit over lunch and kept it open. So maybe 4 or 5 really that I have actually played and gone through the story. But it's it's one of the games that was lauded last year. Lots of people absolutely loved this game last year, and it appeared in many Game of the Year lists and was probably Game of the Year for lots of people last year. It is an isometric. What's the fucking game genre? What is it?
CRPG.
Yeah, CRPG, isn't it?
It is a CRPG. Yeah.
That's a computer role-playing game for those of you in the audience.
But it doesn't follow the it doesn't follow the genre, in that a lot of those games are sort of fantasy style games. This is a
Fallout.
Still a fantasy game, innit? Fallout's still fantasy.
Yeah, apocalyptic fantasy.
And in what way?
Disco Elysium's kind of fantasy.
Yeah, in what way is Disco Elysium not fantasy? But Fallout is.
Okay, so grounded is the word, I suppose. Yeah. In that Disco Elysium is much more grounded than a lot of those kinds of games. You are this alcoholic cop who has at the beginning of everything has forgotten. At the beginning of the game has forgotten everything, and whilst you're trying to solve a murder, you're also kind of trying to piece together who you are. And it's got some very interesting sort of systems in it that affect the kind of the dice rolls on all of the encounters that you have, on the kind of different checks that you need to make for dialogue options and things like that. And it allows you to upgrade some of these systems on this kind of on this web, which you can put points into kind of empathy. So, you know, if you need to empathize with the character and you put points into that, it's going to be an easier role for you to be able to do that. But there's interesting things that you can put points into understanding the world a little bit better. You can put points into how drugs will affect you. So actually, they have like a greater effect on you, or that you know what someone is kind of under the influence of. There's all of these like subtle elements that are affecting kind of like the dice rolls and the decisions that happen whilst you're playing. And what's been good is that it doesn't feel, or it does feel like a dice roll. So I've had times where it's like it's a 79% chance.
I mean, that's what makes it a RPG.
Yeah, absolutely. You failed. It's a 23% chance. Oh, you've passed it. And I'm like, fuck! I did not expect that at all. And whether these, I've got no idea whether they are dice rolls, whether it is actually happening, or whether that is part of the story.
Oh, I see.
And I've not delved into any kind of like forums, or I've not looked at any guides or anything like that for people to say, oh yeah, you know, you have to do this twice. You will always fail the first dice roll, and you need to, I don't know whether it has that.
I haven't read anything about subterfuge. From what I understand, it's just RNG, and the core mechanic of the game is you've got way more, like CRPGs of old had like 7 stats, and you've got a bunch more, and the point of this game is to really explore with modern technology and good writing, what'll come out, which is why I'm super like enthused about it, because like it seems like the conversation-based angst of the XCOM missing at 98% hit ratio sort of stuff. Like XCOM plays the RNG game to the point where people just are convinced that it cheats, because sometimes you like 98 ain't 100, and 60 definitely ain't 100, but people don't interpret probabilities the right way. And like to have that across the board on all kinds of different angles, and they're all sort of social based. When you won this code off of a giveaway on a Facebook group, right?
I did, yes. Well, not one. Someone just said,
yeah, sorry.
I've got a couple of games. I've got a couple of codes for games. Does anyone want it? And I just luckily managed to be on Facebook within the first couple of minutes of that person posting in a group.
As someone who abandoned that Facebook group years ago and has sort of made fun of it on the side, I was like, well, there's Batard. It's mine. I'm being wasted. Because sticking around that group for years probably would be worth it on getting that game for free, because it's like been near the top of my list.
I don't think that would have been worth it.
Yeah.
It's not worth it.
I mean, one of the reasons why I haven't picked it up, well, the main reason is I'm bad at playing video games.
And it's a big game.
I'm okay at gaming, but I'm bad at actually playing games. But also, I figured it'll probably hit the Humble Bundle or some other nonsense that I'll get access to. And like, I've stopped being in a rush to play games.
Yeah. We've got all the time in the world, but
no world.
True. There is no world left. But you talking about it, Ben, makes me want to go back to it, because I started it, and it's just one of those. It's a lot of reading, and it's a lot of the time that I need to put into it. 'Cause it's like a 40-hour RPG.
Yeah,
and it's like, I want to play this on a computer, because it's only on computers right now, but I know that they've basically launched, well, not launched, but I see updates for this game all the time. It's installed on my computer. I see updates all the time, and they've said that the devs have said that it can basically run on your crappy 10-year-old computer now. So it's like,
nice.
I could play this on my Surface in bed maybe now. But I know that they've probably got that build working because it's coming to Switch soon. So I'm just thinking, I just go all in on Switch?
And get another copy?
Yeah, because that's what I do. Because the text is going to be tiny on Switch.
It will be tiny on Switch, yeah. They'll have to do some very good optimization on that to present that to you very well.
I should just suck it up and just play it on PC.
You should, yeah, absolutely, yeah.
This PC that costs me a lot of money.
One of the really good things about it is that when you encounter a kind of a new character, it starts off being voice acted. So kind of the initial blurb between you and that character is voice acted, or not from you, the character that you're playing, but from the opposite character, from the NPC. They will voice their responses to you. And when you start then getting into, say, lines of questioning, where you can go down different paths, different answers will elicit different kind of responses and things. They're not voice acted, so there is a lot of text reading. Yes.
Yeah. And I've just not been in the mood for that for ages.
And
like reading a lot of text.
Yeah, I completely see why. I think for me, it has been compelling enough to pull me through a lot of that.
Yeah.
And for me to sit through this. And I mean, I must have realised maybe 3 hours in, and actually if I double-clicked, my character would run rather than just fucking sauntering everywhere and take ages to go anywhere.
Come on, Ben, you should know this.
I know, exactly. I should have. It's
been
so long.
Playing games
it's been so long since I played one of these games.
Oh, dad boy.
This is it. It's the dad effect. It's the dad effect. Not realising that games do have slight quality of life things to them.
VirtuaVerse that I spoke about earlier. I was like, if you don't have that in a point-and-click adventure, or if you double-click, you don't just automatically move to the next scene, or they do a quick walk.
Yeah.
What are we even doing at this point?
Kind of very slowly progressing fire.
Yeah.
Oh, brutal. But Disco Elysium feels like you are in a very slowly progressing fire at points. It kind of it really hammers in that you're kind of trying to piece together who you are and getting things wrong, just not having any clue. And actually a lot of that is kind of determined by your responses and what you want to impress upon the character. And I haven't got to any kind of point yet where someone has specifically kind of said, no, you're actually like this, not like what you've been kind of pushing this character towards. So it'd be interesting to see if that point occurs, or whether it is just completely open to how I interpret things, what I am pushing on this character, and how I portray him.
Yeah. What did you roll as then? Like, what stats did you put most of your?
So I customized it and made everything very average. I think I upped.
Oh, you're boring, Ben.
No. I think I upped intelligence.
Right.
I think I upped intelligence over everything else.
Black magic spell.
I think I leant very much towards manipulating people. So.
Yeah.
That's how I would do it.
Yeah.
And hang time and grind and.
I'm gonna have to fucking find the game.
Yeah, it's definitely your kind of game, is it?
I'm super early in it. I think you'd both enjoy it. I absolutely think you'd both enjoy this game. It is written very well. The interactions between the characters are very believable. Especially with the main character kind of being this stumbling guy who's woken up from an absolutely insane bender and cannot remember anything.
So this can all relate to.
Are we just playing The Hangover?
A little bit.
When does Mike Tyson show up?
But you're a cop. There's no tigers yet.
We can all relate to this.
No tigers yet.
But, it's just very. It's slightly humorous, but it's very dark. And,
it is very dark. Yeah.
So like, am I in the mood to play this? Am I in the mood to kill demons like in Doom? No, probably.
It allows you to go a little bit darker. It allows you to be self-deprecating if you want. It allows you to kind of play it safe. Normally, in response to someone's question or answer, you have 4 or 5 responses. And they very much range from being submissive to being super aggressive towards that person, or trying to be clever versus trying to play along with them type thing.
Did you do the 2 fingers up to like the barman and then just dive back into that poor wheelchair old lady.
Did I dive into her? No, I did not dive into that woman.
That's what happened in my playthrough. Well, I think I don't know, just running away from the barman or something like that, or the manager or whoever it is, and just dive bombed into the poor lady in the wheelchair.
Oh no, I didn't do that.
2 fingers. I did that. Just like...
She tells you a lot about the area, so I've come to find out.
Okay.
Yeah.
I need to get back into it. Yeah.
But it's kind of, again, it's one of those games where you go and investigate something over in point A, you then have to go to point B, that then leads you to point C. It then leads you back to point A, back to point C, back to point B. It does have you kind of banding around a little bit.
Yeah.
But actually, with all of the different tasks that it gives you, never really puts one above the other. It's up to you to decide kind of what you want to do and how you want to approach things. In the early kind of part of the game, and the sort of the main thrust so far is you're investigating a murder, and the corpse is hung in a tree, and you can't get it down. You do not know how you can get this corpse down, because it's been hung with this reinforced like cargo strap that you just don't have enough tools to be able to get down. You can't climb the tree and all these sorts of things. So there's lots of stuff kind of around that you need to sort of explore and uncover and kind of play with, which is really interesting, because it's taken me in directions that kind of led nowhere, but also then gave me a little bit of an inkling to go somewhere else, which may have just been the first point of call had I have answered something in a different way. So it's got a lot of nuance to it. It's got a lot of branching paths to it. It's got a lot of ways that can mislead or direct you in certain ways as well. So the writing is very, very key to this kind of game, and is really good in this. And as I said, it's compelling. I want to play this kind of over everything else at the moment as well.
Okay. Maybe I should just try and sit down for, if it's max an hour a day, and just play it. See if it really draws me in. And
you'll be playing it for 40 years.
40? No, it's about 40-hour RPG.
Yeah, you'll get about
40
about
days.
About a month or month and a half in, you'll have done it.
I can do that. I can do the slow burn if need be.
You needed to start it in January when there was nothing else to play with.
I think I did start it in January, and then I thought...
and other things popped up in February.
Yeah, because I was like, this is a bit dark. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, it's one of the few games that and Outer Wilds. So I had to look at my shelf to see if I had Outer Worlds.
I was talking to someone about Outer Wilds, because they finished it, and I'm like, I just thought I want to get back to that game.
Those are the two games this year that I've been like. I originally was like, this seems like up my alley, but
yeah,
I'm
there is
not
a
playing
massive.
maybe I'll just wait until it gets cheaper, or it comes on one of these like Game Pass or Humble monthly. So I'll just ignore it. And those are the two that I've consistently heard like good things, and people are like, you gotta play it. I was like, shit, I got some FOMO, but also I don't play enough games.
Yeah, I there's a part of me that just wants to look up the story on Outer Wilds, because that game is like full of revelations. But then but I'm not going to say anything. But it's like, but to get to those revelations, you got to put in quite a bit of work. And
so
I don't like
think
that work.
I don't know if you guys. So the Polygon people before the McElroys left Polygon, they had the Besties podcast. Yeah, and they've Spotify is now paying them to do it, so it's only on Spotify. Wow. But they did. So one of their first few. Yeah, Besties is back, and it's on Spotify, and it's good. It's like the Besties. I've listened to all the episodes, the new episodes, and like one of the earlier ones was them talking about Outer Wilds.
Yes, sorry. Outer Wilds, yeah.
Yeah, and I thought it was a really good like exposition, because a couple of them were like, fucking love this game. A couple of them were like, and most of the digest was on this like, look, the gameplay's not as good as you think it is, and it's kind of a chore.
It is.
And when I fuck it up because I don't really know what I'm doing because I need to guide myself in this 20-minute loop, like actually it's annoying. And I found that refreshing because the ones who didn't quite finish it were still like, the twists I've seen are really interesting, and I want to know how it ends. But but I think it was Justin who was just like, I don't want to know how it ends enough to deal with this control schema. And I was like, cool. Thank you for letting me know that. That's kind of
my problem. And it's like Dark Souls, to be honest. Because a lot of it is time sensitive, because whole thing of the game you're in a time loop. And it's like, if you don't do this by this time, then go kill yourself and do it again. Because you're not going to be able to get to this specific point and do this specific thing. Yeah. And it's like, I've been to this area before, I just didn't see that one thing, or I just didn't interact with this one thing whilst I was there. Now I have to go kill Father Gascoigne again in Yharnam or whatever, all over again. And it's like, really? No, I like my dad games, so I don't want to play this.
I think that's
I really want to know how it finishes.
The moral of the episode, more dad games.
Yeah, more please.
And if you don't like the dad games, go and play your Amiga. Don't worry about it.
The dad games, all the dad games.
I wonder if one day, in a distant future, like, the people that we cuss with all these weird Steam comments actually just happen across this podcast.
I would fucking love it.
Me too.
Happy Bros. Fuck you right now.
20 years in the future.
It's where they.
I hope you're a dad now.
Yeah, you're a dad now. That's it.
You're a granddad for your Amiga.
Oh, granddad and his Amiga. Right, let's finish there this week.
Yeah, I think we've gotten to the point where Aadil's now just outwardly saying "fuck you" to random people in the future, and we're just talking about potential dads in the gamer sphere that we've probably run out of steam. But not out of Epic.
So, Aadil, Biz. Did the Mondo open up a little bit more? Did you enjoy it more as you drank it?
Yeah. So the Mondo, here it is. This beer, it opened up a little bit. I thought there was some synergy between where the bitter and the sweet interacted that I didn't appreciate. It's just that everything's just lower key.
Yeah.
But it worked really well. Like, if I hadn't had this beer, I would probably have said this beer was like pretty well like melded and like a good taste profile. But so like I like the Mondo. Again, to be honest, the fact that it's 6.5% still confuses me because it just doesn't. It tastes light despite being kind of a bit of a heavier sweetness. I think it's because, and like the bitterness is, again, it doesn't have that pininess, but it's a little more in front, and I kind of liked that. But ultimately, it's, like, I hate to say it, but it's just boring compared to the other one. Like the pipeline just did more things and had a taste curve and had some trade-offs, and they all melded well, and there was a good movement between sort of the sweet moments and the bitter moments, and like the fact that you realized after the fact, oh yeah, no, that bitterness was always there. It's just the sweetness was having an upswing and then it downswung, and then this light bitterness was just doing its thing the whole time. It does what I like more, which is, again, like I like being taken on a bit of a journey with my beers, and this the pipeline all together now did it way more. I was waiting. I was like, no way,
it's persistent.
And the Mondo just like is a good beer, and it hits those taste points, but in kind of a, from my perspective, a clumsier way. It's kind of just like, I'm doing this. I have these ingredients, kind of thing. But I'm also like, super impressed by this entire project. Like,
Yeah.
hey, if anything, like if you can get multiple altogether nows out there just so you can taste it, like how much goes into the manufacturing of a beer versus the recipe, because these beers did not taste the same. They tasted similar, but they have the same recipe. That tells you a lot about how much goes into beer that's sort of off the books, for lack of a better term.
Absolutely, yeah.
And now I want to find the ones that you've already dug up.
Yeah, I kind of want. I wish I'd put the Dig beer in the fridge because I want to go and drink it now just to see what those differences will be from their brewing process, and what they have done for it. I might stick it in the freezer for 15 minutes and then stick it in the fridge for 10 and crack it in like half an hour or something like that.
Do it.
Do it.
I mean, I completely agree with what you're saying about the pipeline in the Mondo. The Mondo was flatter, it was more subdued, didn't have that flow. The pipeline did just have that lovely taste curve to it. It flowed through that experience, left me satisfied. And whereas the Mondo was nice, it's a nice beer, but it didn't do much
Outside of that.
So yeah, I completely agree with you on that. But I shall possibly look for some more of these altogether beers. It depends how many more are out in the wild now. This is something that actually started a few weeks ago, if not sort of 3 or 4 weeks ago, really. When we started seeing sort of like the first beers. I think the Daya has been out for quite a while now. The Left-Handed Giant, I think, came out at the beginning of this week or the end of last week. End of last week, I think, actually. But it'd be interesting to see if more of this kind of comes up as more people get their hands on the recipe and are able to say, yeah, sure, you know, anything we make from this beer, we are able to contribute to sort of hospitality industry. And be within sort of the spirit of this. You know, plenty of people can get the recipe and just brew a similar beer, but to kind of be part of the project is what this is all about. So it would be interesting to see if this is something that persists through, you know, the next month or 6 weeks, however long not really lockdown is existing for in the UK, you know, with people kind of just doing what the fuck they like at the moment. And then when lockdown 2 eventually occurs, whether new altogether beers appear. But we won't go into that right now.
Thanks for that, Ben.
I'm
That's
actually
a downer.
like, I wish.
Go for a walk now while you can.
I'm getting to that point where it's like, yeah, I could do with going outside, like to somewhere.
Anywhere.
Yeah, I'd like to sit there. That's not my.
Just like go to a park and sit on a bench just because you're allowed to sit on a bench.
Yeah.
Remember those halcyon days?
Yeah, absolutely.
You remember a pub? I can't remember.
No, I
don't
really don't know what a pub is.
The pub?
Public house.
Not sure what you're talking about. Don't
Sounds
know.
like a
I think there might have
toilet.
been. I mean, there's definitely a setting in a lot of games of a public house, but I don't think of it.
That's an. I think you're mistaking it for an inn. I think you mean an inn.
Yeah, it's where you get that initial quest on a really bad RPG.
Yeah, to go kill rats today.
Yeah. My basement's full of rats. Please go and deal with them, please.
Kill the rats. At
Bard's
the
Tale
end.
3?
Like every RPG.
Yeah.
So that is us for this week. If you want to get hold of all of us, we are at TankedUpCast on Twitter and on Instagram. You can go to outoflives.net to read lots of articles, to see the video of this and our pretty faces, or the YouTube channel, which is Out of Lives Network. Go there again to see the beers that we have poured, or just how we look, if you want.
How we be,
Really curious.
And our beards and our 5 o'clock shadow.
No,
Yeah, I
7
need
day
to
shadow.
deal with that actually.
7 day. Ooh, is it real? I suppose it is, isn't it?
We record the same day every night, every week.
Oh, yes. So yeah, interact with us. Let us know what you're thinking. Comment on our Twitter posts on our Instagram posts. Let us know what you're drinking. You can also... Oh, go on.
I was going to say, but also you can catch us live on recording every week at 8 o'clock on twitch.tv/Out of Lives Network, like some of our friends in the channel already are. Thanks for tuning in, guys.
Thank you.
And then if they wanted to talk directly to myself, you could reach me at the Omniarch. That's TheOmniarch on all of the things except Twitch, where I'm the _Omniarch. But yeah, how would they do that to you, Lucy?
I'm very tired, so not tonight, but any other time they can reach me at GCLease9, Xbox, Steam, Twitter. I'm still trying to catalog every single game I finish this year. I barely scratched the surface. I tried to write like one sentence with them, but it's I just haven't got around to it for a few days.
Are you with that? Are you doing all the new games that you play, or are you going to revisit the games you've already finished?
Oh, she's already gone back.
Doing the ones that I've already finished.
Sure.
The hope was to catch up, where I'm at the point where it's like, oh, these are just the games that I'm now finishing, you know?
Yeah.
But we've got a long way to go. I think I just need to sit down and do like 4 a day. But then I'm just clogging up the feed, and it's like, I do want to give like a bit of exposure to some of these smaller games.
Absolutely.
So, I'll try for 3 a day. That's the target.
But just take your phone to the toilet with you. Little tweet.
True.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so hard. Ben, I'm in the category of dad. Tweeting is hard, and it takes a long time. And it's like to get it within the 140 characters or whatever. And
it's 280 like, now. It's
and then
now.
Yeah, but I struggle. It's like, how do I add an image? How do I tweet to the right person?
Where do you get the image from?
Oh, I just go to.
Is it an official one? Is it someone else's? Someone's grabbed, and you've got to credit them.
No, I just go to the press. I go. I don't know. The Witcher press kit, and just look first image that's on there.
IDGB.
You can do that, or you can go to the. Yeah,
they're like official
a lot of games, their official website.
Go to their page.
But as I say, this takes time.
Ben, if people wanted to get a hold of you straight off instead of at Tanked Up, how would they do that?
Well, I'm going to go to the toilet in a minute, so I'll be on my phone for probably 5 minutes, so you can do it straight away. At Nova_47 on Twitter, on PSN, on Steam. Probably on Epic as well. Who knows what that system is?
Friends on Epic.
I don't know.
Do you have usernames?
It's probably numbers and letters. It's probably like Nintendo.
Can you befriend anybody on Epic? I don't know.
Yeah. It's worse than Nintendo. They've made the system worse than Nintendo.
You know what? I have been cussing them since that thing launched because it is awful. But I do like the thing where it's like if you bought a game and it goes on sale like a day after, they refund you.
I thought we might segue into that earlier, but then we just ended up talking about libraries.
It will be interesting to see what the time period is on that, won't it?
Refunds,
refunds. Whether it is
it's not going to be 6 years, is it?
No, but I could see it being like 30 days.
I can see it, being maybe.
I mean, that would be the standard, right?
30 days. I think Steam do something similar where you can just refund anything on Steam. And
Steam has refunds after if you've only played less than 2 hours, I think.
Yeah. No fuss, no muss, no questions asked.
Yeah, I think Steam do a refund thing as well. Like if in a certain amount of time, even if you have played X number of hours, that if it does go on sale, that they do credit your account. I'm pretty sure Epic is just coming in line with what Steam do already.
Yeah, we should probably look into this before we definitively say anything.
What I have said cannot be verified in any way whatsoever. Do not take it as writ. Just do your own research.
Yeah.
We're tired. We don't want to do it for you.
You don't need Do you need Broforce to play Expender Bros?
I think so.
Oh, I don't know.
Sorry,
I
I
can
just
do
saw it in Steam and I was like, oh.
Oh no, Expander Bros is the free thing, right?
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
standalone.
you
Right?
don't need Broforce for it.
I might play that.
Now you finish Huntdown, you're
So
in
yeah,
the mood.
Yeah.
You're in the mood for
Yes,
that
feeling.
experience. You don't want fucking Snake Plissken and Keanu and all of
No,
those, just the Expendables.
Yeah, I have been. I have been in a mood where it's like I don't even want to see a cutscene in my game. I just want to kill things.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Brilliant. It's what we need right now. It's what we all need right now. So, we're going to go and do all of those things for another week. We have been Tanked Up. Goodbye.
Bye, everybody.
Ciao.
www.outoflives.net